And you need to have the deep fried zucchini you love because you never know when you'll be back here on the East Coast. Sure, but did you really need the pogo too? Number 7, I've been afraid to ask for what I really, really want, which is a life partner who's 100% supportive of my vision for my life and my business and my lifestyle, who loves to travel and who is also fine on his own, confident in his own skin, who is not threatened by a strong, confident woman, and who is financially secure and open about money and wealth, and who can live happy and thriving. You're listening to the Unshackle Your Life podcast with Debbie Colburn, the place to break through all of the hidden things that hold each of us back, things that scare us and things that challenge us, and things we're just plain fed up with. We talk all things money and business, big and small. We dive deep, we get real, and we get raw, discovering and exploring what is really possible for you. It's a restart. If you've ever struggled with shame, worry, or just plain self-doubt, if you've ever thought it's not enough when you looked at your bank account or your credit card, if you're sick and tired of living a cycle of crisis to crisis to crisis, no matter whether it's in your personal life, in your business, or your relationships, then this is where you need to be. We'll bring you new ideas, tips, and tactics, and connect you to the resources to get you unlocking your own shackles and release your unique abilities. No matter what's going on in your life right now, maybe you're in survival mode, just barely getting by, living day to day, paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you're in a job or a career or running a business that is leaving you on empty, depleted, uninspired, or anything in between. I've got your back. Ready? So buckle on up, take a deep breath, and join me in a conversation about jumpstarting your life and breaking free of your shackles and create that thing that you've been scared to ask for. Welcome to episode 85. Guys, can you believe that we are 9 days from the end of the year and 3 and a bit days to Christmas? Wherever you are in the world, whatever you celebrate around this time of the year, I'm sending you my biggest and deepest pot of positive energy, abundance vibes, and gratitude. If it wasn't for each one of you, I would be sitting in a corner talking to myself. Thank you for making 2021 a fabulous year for me and for yourself and for everyone around you. So we're just going to jump into the 7 biggest lessons I personally have been working through in 2021 and how each has changed how I think and approach things in both my business and in my relationships. I hope you'll follow my example and take some time and write out yours and set up 2022. Say that again, 2022 to be extraordinary. Now, my list isn't just 7. You get that, right? It's way, way longer. But these are the ones I think that many people also struggle with too. Number 1, and this comes as no surprise to anybody, I am still my biggest damn roadblock. No matter how much work I do on myself, I still lean towards sabotaging my progress when things are moving in the right direction. It's nuts. It's like the most ridiculous thing on the planet. The difference this year is that I immediately feel the drag. I recognize the signs right away, like delaying replying to a client email. And I lean into it, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. Number 2, when I get lazy on my money work, clearing my money blocks, limiting beliefs, stories, that type of thing, the things that, the stories that we have running around in our minds. And when I'm surrounded with people who don't get me, people who words like cheap and expensive, like pop out of their voices all the time. The scarcity thinking that I grew up with inches back. Just like the kudzu that overgrow trees in the south in just 4 days. Can you imagine? Kudzu grows 4 feet in 24 hours. Imagine that. Imagine if it was a person. So when I have what I like to call a money drought, like there's no money coming into my life for a couple of days in a row, or it's all money out. It's flowing out. There's nothing coming in. And I want to just be really clear here, because I think some people get hung up on this, is that money could simply, and it can also be value too, like a gift card or someone giving you a discount or something like that. But money could be anything from simply finding a nickel on the ground and picking it up, not just seeing it, but picking it up, all the way through to something like getting paid in full by a client, or like happened to me a week ago, winning a $500 US cash prize at an event. That is the first time in my life that that has ever happened. And man, did I celebrate that one. I go all in on my money coaching lessons, and I take a look at where I've fallen off my daily routines. And I get back on track to that no matter what anybody around me thinks or says. And I do that fast. And the turnaround is fast too. Because I've been working on this for a while. Number 3, my value to the world is a gazillion times greater than what I've been asking for. When I actually get brave enough to ask, and you shouldn't have to get brave to ask for your value, and I really need to own this. So for so long, I, like thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe, probably even in the millions of other business owners, lived in the world of competing on being the cheapest, the Walmart of your industry. Now, here's the thing about Walmart. We use this as an example of inexpensive and stuff. But the reason that Walmart sits so strongly in that niche is that the whole point of what Sam Walton did was he looked at all the little teeny weeny tiny towns that didn't have access to the, like, the little things, the things that really didn't cost that much money, but they had to drive all the way to the bigger towns to get it. So he didn't start in the bigger towns. It was all about getting what they needed into the little towns. There's your useless bits of information. But those of us, and being afraid to let people know what it really costs to work directly with you. And this can apply to you and your job. If you think you're worth a lot more than what you are, then it's up to you to take some steps, to make some different choices to start making that happen. And it could be as simple as following the script that Ramit Sethi has in his I Will Teach You to Be Rich book on how to ask for a raise or a bonus. But my first online course that I sold, and that was in 2017, 18, somewhere around there. I sold it from a webinar at a 50% discount from $297. Can you imagine that? That was an 8-module course. In terms of what people would pay in person for that, just like without looking at my value, it was probably about 5 times that based on the content. And certainly for my expertise and my value and so on, it was way beyond that. And eventually I raised the price of that course, which is still available today. If you want it, I'll put the link in the show notes. It's a little bit dated. The delivery is a little bit dated, but the content is, well, it's mind blowing. And it's $1,497 US. And it's still an incredible deal. I've worked diligently this year finding a dollar value number, and I've got some tips and strategies I'll talk about in 2022 on how to find that number that feels right for me. Especially since you know that I've pivoted businesses, so that was a big shift too, because I still had my dog industry business thinking in my head too. And when you find that number, that dollar value number that feels right to you, it reflects a perfect intersection of feeling valued for your knowledge and your experience, and this is so important, the client benefiting from that, giving your the best value and tips and tactics and resources to your client so they can get the results that they are craving for. And again, this for me right now in 2022 is in this new business evolution. And yes, if you're curious about that, that number for a half a day VIP session is $2,795 US. 4 hours, totally tailored to you to figure out your problem and a next step strategy to go forward. And I am saying no more to doing things that don't light me up but deplete me. The number of times in the last 6 months I've said to people unequivocally, I am not going back to teach anything in the dog world. I've got that online course there. If people want that, I can point them to that. I've got some colleagues that have amazing stuff. I can point them to that, but I am not. Number 4, no matter what you've tried and thought you were doing your very best for your kids, this I'm talking about kids and grandkids, guys, in whatever situation you were in as they were growing up, as they were living with you, through until they, heck, right now I've got 36 and 40. Like, the range is huge. There will always be fallout and stories that they tell themselves about you as a parent or as a grandparent or as a step parent or that will be completely opposite to what you thought you were showing up as. It is a dagger to the heart. Your job is to keep doing the work and be the best role model you can be and be open about the challenges that you were facing then. Their stories are their stories. They're not yours. My kids and my grandkids are some of my biggest teachers, and I see them and I hear them, and it's like my old self being reflected back to me. Not all the time, because all of them are making huge progress. And in 2022, a big goal I have is to be better at sharing the why I do something today and the thinking that got me there with them. Number 5, I have been in a battle with myself for the last few years. This is something when you're working through some challenges that you have and so on. This is something that's not talked about very often. On one hand, knowing that it's likely that you'll need to work long hours than you'd like to do to get momentum and stronger results. So that is in our brains. We know that logically, we know that is probably true. And then on the other hand, sticking to your future schedule, which for me is 5 hours a day, 4 days a week with 10 to 12 weeks off in a year. And it's going to take 5 to 6 times as long to get the traction and the results that you know are possible. Now, how do I know this? Because I felt it all the way through the better part of 2021. I felt myself fighting, and I felt myself beating myself up for yes, and I slide back into sloppy planning, and I get lazy, or I get pulled off on something else, and so on. Is that I felt it, and I knew that there was something that I was missing. And one day in a deep coaching session, and I was working through with my own coach, and this conflict popped up for me. And I'd spent most of my adult life working 14 to 16-hour days as a badge of honor. If you're close to my age, you've come from the corporate world, or you're in the corporate world, or you're sitting in a situation right now that it's expected of you, it's what you did when you were my age. And I promised myself in my next business, because I did it in the summit, and to a great degree I did it in the Fit Body, Fit Mind dog in my evolution, but I also recognize that to do what I really, really want to do, I need to set that aside for a specific period of time to get that momentum, and then I can step into that. Now remember, this isn't a way out in the future. This is a specific period of time. And I'm working hard on trying to find that and to maintain it as a seasonal balance. So there's a tip for you right now, is seasonal balance. So our lives are never ever consistently in balance. Don't let anybody tell you that they are. But we have seasons of balance where we go way out of balance, like for example in this, where I'll have to go for the next probably six or 7 months, completely out of balance, where it's work centric all the way through. But then as we come back into balance, then it'll shift the other direction, where the business is running on its own. It's on the back burner, so I can really focus a bit more on me and the family, and then it'll come back to some semblance of balance. That's what's called seasonal balance, and that's what you're aiming for. Number 6, my body loves a 95% vegan lifestyle, yet my stories are always fighting it, trying to throw me off. So the lesson that I get from this one is that I need to be more aware of my internal feelings and stand up more for my choice to be 95% vegan to my family. That's a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody, because at this point in time I'm learning to be able to ignore the eye rolls, the sighs, the passive aggressive comments, all of that type of stuff, because those are the things that throw you off. And I need to get back to my daily food planner and keep working on the generational thinking that keeps nudging me to things like dinner is always followed by dessert. Cheese is a fancy thing you normally can't afford. Yes, I know it's not vegan, but it's been a stumbling block for me. And you need to have the deep fried zucchini you love, because you never know when you're going to be back here on the East Coast. That is what's called Last Supper thinking. Sure. But did you really need the pogo too? Number 7. I have been afraid to ask for what I really, really want, which is a life partner who is 100% supportive of my vision for my life, my business, and my lifestyle, who loves to travel and who is fine on his own, who isn't threatened by a strong, confident woman, and who is financially secure and open about money and wealth, who can live happy and thriving with a minimalist that loves variety, uncertainty, adventure, and has a big story, and has a financially successful and highly profitable high six-figure business. There. Whew, that's a lot to unpack, yet I'm thrilled to have gotten those and be able to move into 2022 with a better understanding of where I need more focus and how I get thrown off track and how to saddle back up without losing the horse in the forest. So, going into 2022, how do I want to do it? So I hope you guys are on board with me and you're looking at yours. So for the last part of this episode, I'm going to share 5 questions I ask myself at the end of each year so that I can plan out the next. And remember, December 31st doesn't have to be the end of your year. You can end your year at any point in time in the 365 days and start a new year. And I'm sharing that planning along with 20 wins from 2021 in the next episode. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of wins, like so many I didn't even know where to start in 2021. So I'm going to share that, the planning and the wins, in the next episode, or in our last new episode in 2021. But first, here's something you don't know about me. I don't celebrate New Year's. I haven't since I was in my late 20s. It started out because I really, really don't like drunk guys clamoring for a kiss and a hug at midnight, including my ex-husband. And that should have been a sign, when 2 hours before they don't even know you existed. And then it simply became my time for focusing on what I want to achieve for the next year, 12 months. and not be something that I start on January 1st and by February 1st I've totally bailed on it. Like the gym or losing 20 pounds, or I bet if you're listening, you have been there before. Or maybe not. Maybe you're one of those people that just gets it first time. Kudos to you if you are. Everyone is frantic to put the last year behind them, but I wanted to celebrate it. I've loved every single year of my life, even those where everything fell apart. Learn from it. Use it to move into the next years, even pandemic years. There is so much to be grateful for. My sister lost her husband to brain cancer on the 30th of April 2021. She's an elementary teacher, and lockdowns had meant that she had 15 plus months at home with him that she would never have had in a normal life. So these 6 questions can be asked in each role that you have, in each area of your life, and today I'm sharing mine that I ask for in both my personal life and in my business life. And I hope you're able to see how you can use them in yours. So make sure that you've got, a piece of paper and your iPad, some Evernote, something like that where you can just write these down because they're going to get you start thinking. The questions that I ponder, and a lot of my pondering is just writing on my trusty yellow legal pads. What worked and what didn't work? That is a big question. It requires an insane amount of honesty. What am I dropping? So what am I totally getting rid of? What am I giving to someone else to do or to look after? What am I putting on the back burner for a future time in 2022? And just to give you an example of this one, I was just talking with the coach, and for the last 2.5 years, I've danced around the idea of hosting a mastermind of my own, but at the time I wasn't exactly sure who that ideal client would be. And after the recent event that I was at, it popped back up, and I went and I made him went, I want to do that. And I said to him, I have to remember that I have a 90-day plans, and I've got to put that as one of the objectives in one of those 90-day plans, but I can't deal with it right now because I'm on an existing plan. So that's an important tactic for you. So that's my mastermind. You'll be hearing more about that, and for most of you, you won't even be remotely interested, but there will be one, maybe two of you out there who are interested in being in a mastermind to move to the next level in your business and your money and your life. What am I going to do more of? What am I going deeper on? So that one right off the top, I knew that money thinking, going deeper into, solving more of this money story that I have. But I've got lots more going into that. And I might do an episode early on in the year talking about these various different things, diving deeper on them for you. And what am I changing, tweaking, and evolving? So, you know that saying, you don't want to throw the bathwater out with the baby out with the bathwater, but a lot of what I've done it goes back to that first one, what worked and what didn't work. It kind of worked, but maybe it just needs a change or a tweak to make it really, really work. And maybe after doing that, I recognize that it isn't working. So you see, these are interlinked. It's like a ball that just keeps twisting them around. So, did you write those down? What were some of the things that immediately jumped into your head? Is there a question that something rose up to the top? It like bubbled up to the top right away like a volcano, and it kind of caught you off guard, surprised you? So don't ignore those. That's an important thing to be aware of, because when they pop up like that, they're screaming, pay attention to me. What else could you add to the list under each question in the next 9 days? So sometimes I just take those papers and I stick them on the wall, even though that's I don't leave them there for long because Post-it notes and stuff on the walls are mental clutter for me. But sometimes I just put them out, spread them out on a table, something like that, and just add to them as I go along. So we're here, the end. Time for the question that I've asked on every one of the 84 previous episodes. And you'll notice for 2022, following my own guidelines, I've made a subtle change to the question as a result of doing the look back exercise. What is the best thing that could happen if you unlock your shackles today? Hey, if this podcast got you thinking, please make sure you're subscribed and share it with anyone who needs to hear this. The link is in the show notes, and please drop us a review on whatever podcast player that you're listening on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, you name it. And make sure that you drop over to our website, debbiecolburn.com/links/ that's DEBBIECOLBURN.com/links/ to get our brand new 7-day quick action guide and to check out what's coming up in 2022. And please make sure that you're following us on LinkedIn and on Instagram, just to keep you on your toes, has a slightly different name, at MS Debbie Colburn.